Hey soulmates, so it's the Venom dress tutorial and I am Neda Brian. If this is something you're interested in, kindly stay tuned. The first trick is to create a structured base, and to do this we are going to need our 90 degrees flare to do this. The 90 degrees is a quadrant in a circle. That means just a quarter of the circle. And the formula to calculate it is 4 times your circumference divided by 2 pi, where pi is 3.14 and 2 pi is 6.28. So that means 2 pi means 3.14 multiplied by 2. That will give you 6.28. Assuming the circumference of the base is 30. So, for example, if the circumference of, the round part of your leg is 30, for example, what you do is you will multiply that circumference by 4 and then you will divide it by 6.28. So since we're using 30, we're going to do 4 times 30 divided by 6.28, and that's going to be 19, approximately 19. So what you want to do is take your pattern paper and then from the corner get 19 inches from the corner and take this measurement round. So what I like to do is also get the length of the flare, the 90 degrees flare at once, instead of measuring the radius and then going to get the length again. So we're assuming that the length from the corner is 24. That's not what we used, but we're just trying to maximize, like use the paper to illustrate, because we used something longer. So depending on the length you want to use for your client, that's the length you're going to add from the 19 inches. So for example, if the length of the cone is going to be 20 inches, for example, according to the height of your client and where you want to put the cone, 19 inches plus 20 inches will give you 39 inches. So if that's the measurement you're working with from the corner, you will measure 19 inches, then you would now measure 39 inches from the corner. So you're going to add half an inch for the joining allowance and for the hemming allowance. So we're going to add half an inch at the top and then half an inch at the bottom, and that's where we're going to cut on. That's the line we're going to cut on, because if you cut on the 19 inches line, you're going to get a measurement longer than the circumference you're working with. Mind you, I already added my zip allowance to the 30 inches circumference. So go ahead and cage it like so with your Rigilene boning, and then you're going to attach it like this. We just top stitched it on top because the Venom pleats, we're going to cover it anyways. So go ahead and create your pleats. The distance we used between pleats were 5 inches, 0.75 inches rather. So half an inch, that's what we used for the distance between the pleats. And then you can eyeball it, or you can use your tape to get it. Create your pin tucks, but make sure that they are wide enough for your fishing line to pass through them. For this we used about a quarter of an inch, that less than a quarter of an inch. That's the mark in between the 0.25 inches mark and the beginning. So it was just like a pinch basically. For the sake of uniformity, make sure that as you sew, you use your tape to create appropriate distance between each pleat. And then for the whole of this outfit, we use just 7 yards of Organdi. And the reason we use just 7 yards is because it started from the hips downwards. For something like this, you are going to reduce the distance. So we used a quarter of an inch here, and then we used slimmer fishing lines for this. I will be showing you how to get the fishing lines, how to create it from your already made Rigilene bones. But for the Venom dress, we used fishing lines of 2.0 mm, and they come in 100 yards. From here, you can see how thick they are. That's why, the 3D effect of the bones were visible, the fishing line rather were visible. So I'm going to show you the two different effects you can get from the kind of fishing line you use. So for this one, we're going to get our fishing line from this Rigilene bone. So what you will do is measure the length of the Organdi you're working with and then add 5 inches extra to that length. The reason you're adding 5 inches extra is so that when you insert the bones, they will come out excess longer than the Organdi, the actual length of the Organdi. So for example, the one where I'm going to show you is 45 inches long, but the Rigilene bone we cut is 50 inches long. So what you're going to do is cut through the sewable parts of the sewable edge of the Rigilene bone and then pull out the fishing line like so. So you just continue pulling out the fishing lines and then you set them aside. Notice the difference in the thickness of the fishing line compared to the one that was already packed, the one that came in 100 yards. This one is thinner compared to that one. That one has, greater thickness. I can't tell exactly what the thickness is, how many millimeter, thick it is, but yeah, I just know that from even looking at it, it's thinner. Just continue the procedure, pull, and then when you get to the last fishing line, it's not going to be easy to pull out. So what you will do is you're going to cut through the sew through edge like we did initially, but on the other side. And then when you cut through it, you have to be careful when you're cutting through so you don't cut the the fishing line. So when you cut through, it will be easy for you to pull out. So these are the two fishing lines we're working with. Notice the difference in the thickness. The one on the left was gotten from the Rigilene bone, while the one on the right was gotten from the already packed fishing line, which came in 100 yards. So they're both, they both create structure, but the thicker one has more structure than the one you get from the Rigilene bone. Also, there are some Rigilene bones that have thicker fishing lines. So when you're getting your Rigilene bone, just bend it and then you will see the difference. So bend the ones you have available and then you will know. So yeah, some of them are 2 millimeters thick, some are 1.8 millimeters thick, and this is the result you get from the 1.8 or 2 millimeters thick fishing line. And then for the other one, you get a thinner result. Remember, we created a smaller distance of 1/4 of an inch, and our pin tucks or pleats, like what we pinched, was smaller than the one, the other one. Yeah, so those are the two results you will get. I just wanted to point it out because I know a lot of people get their fishing line from Rigilene bones. So I wanted to show you the two methods. Depending on the kind of result you're going for, you can decide. You can either get your fishing line from, the bones, the Rigilene bones, or you can buy the packs. So it depends on the result you're going for, basically. Yeah. So I put them side by side for you to see and, notice the differences, all the differences, the difference in the distance, the difference in the pin tucks, the difference in the end result, basically. Yeah. So when you're done, sewing, back to our tutorial, what you will do is insert your fishing line. So when you create your pleats and your pin tucks, you start inserting your fishing line. What some people do is to put the fishing line and sew on it, like sew while the fishing line is already there. But sometimes, well, if you continue doing it, it will be easy for you. But sometimes if you're not, if you are not a pro in this thing, your pleats will not be evenly distributed. So I generally prefer to create the pleats first before inserting the fishing line. It works well for me. I still get the same results. Yeah. The only thing I do is make sure that the fishing line can pass through while sewing the pin tucks. And I make sure they are not so tight but also not so loose, so that they can stay in place. So the trick is just to, when you create the first pin tuck, make sure that your fishing line can pass through, and then you continue with that size of pin tuck. So initially I stated that I used 7 yards in total to get this results, and that's because the design started from the hips downwards. So what I did was I divided it into 3 yards. Divided it into 3 yards, another 3 yards, and then the remaining 1 yard. And then what we did was we now created the pleats by the length. That was why we were able to bend them like this and get a continuous result from back to front. Yeah, that's why it was long enough. And then you can also what I did was to divide in between the pleats from time to time when they were longer than what I wanted to use. So I just divided by in between, and then folded the edge in. At this point, your creative side should just show up. Do what you want to do, create whatever shape you want to create. And then when I started this, I didn't have a plan. I didn't have a particular end result I was hoping to achieve, but I just went with the flow. So what you want to do when you finish pinning is to sew close to the pleats. So that way, I'm using a a color thread here, just so you can see what I'm doing. So I went as close as possible to the pleats. That way your stitches will be hidden very close to the bone. If you sew right in the middle, they will be very visible. So I used a curved needle and an invisible thread to sew together my pleats and also attach them to the dress. Remember to remove your pins as you sew so that you don't forget the pin inside. So next you're going to trim off the excess fishing line. Notice how I pushed back the fabric before cutting it. The reason I did that was because I wanted, to have enough space to hem the edge. You can't bend the hem if the fishing line is in your way. It's not going to give you a flat and clean finishing. So you have to push the fabric back like so, trim off the fishing line, and then you're going to cut off the fabric that is fraying. Folding neatly. So I folded twice and held the hem down with my pins. And next I started hemming with my curved needle and my invisible thread. You can use the regular needle at this point. So notice that I continue to sew very close to the pleats, close to the fishing line. So yeah, that's what I did, and that's why my stitches were not visible, even though I was using an invisible thread. Sometimes if you're not careful, the dents, like the impressions the thread makes on the fabric, will still be visible. So just to be on the safe side, make sure you stitch close to the pleats where the fishing lines are. And guys, it's a wrap. If you have watched this tutorial up to this point, kindly give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and kindly share, leave a comment. If you have questions, kindly drop it and I'll get back to you. And to my subscribers, thank you. I appreciate you guys. God bless you. Thanks for watching, and kindly watch my other tutorials. See you next time. Bye, soulmates.